Alright, welcome to the video review for Masterverse Skeletor, and bear with me just a smidge, I am getting over a cold. So if I sound a little rough or I breathe a little heavy, I do apologize. Just been stuffy for a couple of days. But anyway, here is Masterverse Skeletor. This is the one here on the left. This is the original from the new cartoon, the new Netflix cartoon aimed at younger viewers. This guy came out about a year ago-ish, I think. Jeez, is it maybe longer than that? I feel like it was around this time last year I was hunting for this guy. Anyway. Yeah, there is the standard one, which was a nice representation of Skeletor. I still like this one. And it's also a little bit more sturdy. And when I say sturdy, I just mean like I can stand him and I can pose him and I don't have as many issues as I do with the Masterverse. Granted, that is because he only has a few points of articulation and whatever. But this is still, I think, just a really nice, solid design of the Skeletor represented on the show. Sorry, got a little tongue-tied there. But the Masterverse version is a lot more posable. You can see the level of detail and like the paint on the trim. He's got all of his nails are painted. He's got a real chain and better sculpted bone arm, whereas this one has a sculpted on chain that I painted myself. And just a lot more joints in this one. To it, that's a good or a bad thing, but some different detailing in the paint apps, just a lot more detail around. A real chain here on his arm, I think I said that already. It's not quite, the links aren't quite as big as they should be compared to on the show, but it is there. And more detail on the staff of Havoc as well. Well, that's the comparison there. We're going to go ahead and get him out of the way, just because we're going to focus on this guy. And again, higher detail, a lot more posability. He's got, like I said, the staff can come out of his hand, and it's got its own attached chain. That's the issue. You just saw him. He fell over. And he's very... I like him because of... some of it may just be the design of this figure. All of the characters in the show are designed to be a little... Well, not all of them, but, Skeletor and He-Man are both a little top-heavy. They're bulky up in the shoulders with these skinny legs. So while this is a nice representation of that, sometimes he just wants to... You can see it's just... The joints all work, but there's just a little wibble in them. There's just enough play. And if one of the joints in the leg had a little bit of play in it, it'd be one thing. But when just about every joint has a little bit of play in it, it gets a little floppy fast. That's not to say that you can't stand him up on his own. It takes a little finagling. And this is all... His head is on a ball joint, as you can see, but it only moves within the hood. The hood itself is kind of a hard rubber, soft plastic type of feel. So while it moves, it's not going to move naturally as cloth would around his face. So while you can move his head inside that cloak, and you can kind of see he is kind of just a skull in there, which is neat. You're never really going to appreciate that head sculpt or get him to look in a vastly different direction without the hood interfering with it a little bit. Same with the shoulder pads. They are posable, they're pliable, but you can get them out of the way to get some good range of motion in the arms, but they are going to block some articulation there. You've got the swivel hinge, double swivel here at the shoulder, bicep swivel, dual hinge elbows, which is nice, although again, they're giant biceps, because He-Man's kind of the same way. I don't have He-Man, but limits some of the posing. This whole forearm swivels, and then you got a hinge and a post at the wrist, because you can swap out hands. We'll show that in a minute. He does have an ab crunch, although again, a little limited. It goes more back than forward. Looks like he's supposed to have a waist swivel, but yeah, there we go. It's a very tight waist swivel, but there's a springiness here in the bicep or in the torso swivel that I'm worried I'm going to twist. Whatever this post is, I feel like if I twist this waist too hard, it's going to end up shearing this off at whatever connects it in here versus turning at the waist. So if you do turn them at the waist, make sure you get a good grip, although this upper torso keeps it from getting able to really grab it. Make sure you hold on to that waist, because there is something that is soft and twisting up in there. It's not twisting off, but it definitely is not a solid peg in there. I'd love to see this come up. I don't want to pull it apart, but whatever. Dual hinge hips, which again, a little bit of wibble to them. Thigh swivel, double hinge knees, which you get a little bit more range of motion out of them than you do the forearms, but again, the shin guard with a little boot there, ridge. But it's you got some swivel there. a little bit of swivel at the foot, a little tilt, and then a hinge at the foot. Looks like probably it's a hinge and a post there. The hands are solid. I mean, like they're kind of rubbery. You can stretch them a little bit to hold the staff. But there's slightly open hands, and then you get a pair of fists for each side. You get a pair of fists, one for each side. You can pop the post out if you want to just have a fist over there. You can, and same over here. So you can have them in punchy mode if you wish. Like I said, it's nice. It's definitely a premium over the kids, the line that hit Walmart right when the show came out. And so if you really like this version of Skeletor, and I do, he might be worth picking up. I feel like if you're just kind of like, I enjoyed the cartoon, or that's kind of a neat looking Skeletor, but you're not super invested in it, this one's fine. I mean, like, I like this one. They actually got a decent amount of paint apps on it. You got the green, the pop of green, the skull hand, or the skeleton hand, a cool skull face. It's a nice sculpt. It's a solid figure. It's a decent representation of Skeletor on your shelf. If you really enjoy the show, you can get this one. It's nice. Like I said, I like it. I'm glad I have it. It's just, it's a little, it's not floppy, because you can see he's standing. And when you put him in a pose, he can stand just fine. It just takes a lot more finesse and finagling to get him into a decent pose and to keep it than I would prefer. I do wish the chain had, and this is something I could do, had a little clip so I could wrap it around his hand like this, and then clip it so it wasn't hanging down, because you can't quite get it all the way wrapped around his fist like it looks like in the show with a little bit hanging down. It wants to flop loose very easily, and I wish I had some way to latch it so it would stay around his forearm. But yeah, it's a good solid figure. Like the detail on it's great, and I really like the Skeletor design, and I like the character on the show, both again visually and just how Ben Diskin's playing him. But anyway, there is Skeletor. Like I said, I had He-Man pre-ordered and I canceled it. This will probably be the only one of these I get. But I think it's Masterverse Skeletor. I'm not sure what they're calling this line, but it's the $30 line, or a $25 line, I think, versus the $9 line. But there's Skeletor. He's cool.